So, Den of Thieves 2 Pantera has arrived in theaters today, and it is the first theatrical release that I've seen for 2025. And I can forgive you if you didn't know it was coming out or simply never heard of it, but let me catch you up to speed. The original Den of Thieves star Gerard Butler is a gruff cop who is an absolutely terrible human being. He's the head of major crimes in LA, and I swear this team watched Training Day one too many times. They're all shitty human beings who happen to carry a badge. Go figure. They're trying to catch a team of thieves who stole an empty armored truck led by Pablo Schreiber and 50 Cent. They also had O'Shea Jackson Jr. in their crew, who gets rolled on by the cops a few times. And spoiler alert, Ice Cube Jr. is actually the mastermind behind the master heist they pull off. And at the end of the film, it pulls off this lazy Usual Suspect ripoff ending where all the pieces line up for Gerard Butler at the very end, and he figures out he missed the real bad guy all along. The movie was serviceable and not memorable except for that infamous 50 Cent scene where he scares the kid taking his daughter to the prom. He walks the kid into a garage. There's a bunch of buff Samoans, and that scares this kid to death. And yes, while the scene is funny, I pray that never happens to my son. But that was really the only memorable scene of the original movie. So enough about the original. This movie picks up sometime after that heist, and Gerard Butler is still haunted by the case because he has to get the bad guy. Somehow he gets clearance to take his ass to France to catch Little Cube, who actually ain't so little no more. Dude is getting straight chunky, son. Without giving too much of the movie away, it's another heist, and somehow, as seen in the trailers, Gerard Butler ends up on a team to help pull off this heist. So as always, let's start off with the highlights. Well, this movie is set in a beautiful location of Nice, France, and the locale looks phenomenal. The film seems to be shot with a very quality camera. Okay, now that we got the highlights out of the way, what was this? Overweight Danny Ocean with 1% of his charisma trying to pull a heist on the least secure, most secure location on the planet. Nothing about this movie made much sense from the putting together of the team, to whom none of these characters stood out, other than the fact they were all middle-aged and out of shape, other than Cleopatra, the handler. She was fit and gorgeous and did absolutely nothing but be fit and gorgeous, to the actual crescendo heist itself, which wasn't tense but very laughable. Halfway through the movie, it pivoted from trying to be a tense and atmospheric movie to trying to be this buddy cop / heist film. And shades of Ocean's 11 is Gerard Butler and Little Cube, who had very little screen time together in the original, suddenly, because he heard he got fired from the force, decided to trust him and put him on their team. Like, why? It made absolutely no sense. It was all nonsensical to the point where nothing or no one made any choices that made sense within this world. There was also this small romantic angle with Butler, who looked so old and haggard in this movie, and their team's honeypot handler Cleopatra, that made absolutely no sense and luckily led to nowhere. This movie reached too far and stared away from what made the original film a much better film. The original, for what it's worth, was a solid cat and mouse Heat copycat. This tried to be Fast and Furious, it tried to be Ocean's 11, and you insert any Ice Cube buddy cop comedy in here, this is what this film was trying to be. And it failed at every level. The movie was about 45 minutes too long, and you felt every second of it. There were parts that were just boring and flat, and the biggest sin of this movie of all was there was only one real action scene in the entire film. By the time that action scene came and went, I was already over this film and I was ready for it to be over. I mean, it came at almost the very end of the movie. I remember watching the first film, and at the end I said, oh, this wasn't too bad, but there's no way they're going to base a franchise on Ice Cube's son character going forward. But they tried it, and it failed with this one. But still, like most movies today, it left somewhat of a teaser or a cliffhanger setting up for another film in the future. And of course, depending on how the box office does, that'll determine whether we see that other film. So, who exactly is this movie for? If you like heist movies on a budget, this is for you. If you like movies that shouldn't take itself so seriously, but it does, this movie's for you. If you like movies that are supposed to be tense, but end up boring you to death, then this is definitely for you. If you love making fun of people's accents because Little Cube tried a French accent, maybe it was African, maybe Haitian, I don't know, but he couldn't complete a full sentence using the same accent. It was twice as bad as everyone says Channing Tatum's Gambit accent was, and it made me laugh quite a bit every time he tried to pull his accent off. It simply didn't work. Well, there goes my goal of being a positive movie reviewer for 2025. That's already in the toilet after the very first movie. But have you seen Den of Thieves 2 Pantera? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you still wondering why they added Pantera to the title? If so, let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, go ahead and tell me who you thought had the worst accent you've ever heard on the big screen. While this one was bad, no one will ever beat Denzel Washington's terrible Jamaican accent in the 80s cop comedy The Mighty Quinn alongside Robert Townsend, who had an equally terrible Jamaican accent. But with that being said, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.